Hello, welcome back again. I'm Chris Richter. Great to have you here. We're going to look at another JavaScript, HTML and JavaScript activity that you can create in your content for something that might be used for diagrams or images where you're trying to explain changes and differences in things. So it could be great for an eco guiding course where you're talking about the changes in environment, or it could be great for any other type of, obviously plants is a great one as well. Many different uses for this, but I'll show you the basics of it, what it looks like, and then how we create the code to create that activity. Then I'll show you how we put that into your learning management system. The activity is a collection of images that are laid over the top of each other. In this case, there's 4 images, and those 4 images are scenes of different times of the year. And then using a HTML5 slider, we can slide that across, and as it slides, you'll see the images change to the next season. So each image is layered over the top of each other, and as you move each one, it switches to the season, and it'll show you the picture underneath. So that's how it works. That's what it does. We've got another collection or a few more of these JavaScript style HTML activities that you can create for students where you can modify them to do what you want. There's a few more of those, so please follow and subscribe on YouTube. That will make sure that you keep up with what's happening, and you can get to see some of these other activities that are coming out in the next few days or week. So make sure you do that. But also check out the courses that I have on how to do this sort of stuff, including the Moodle LMS and how to use it for online educators. There's also a course in there about creating interactive content as well. So check that out. Let's have a look at the code and see what it looks like. I'll just move that over out the way so we can see our code. Our HTML code is fairly straightforward. So we've got a heading 2 there, and I'll just tidy that a little bit more. There we go. We've got a heading 2, which is just drag the bars to be the different seasons. Obviously, you can reword that to mean whatever you like. Then we have our 3 sliders, and all they are is a HTML5 input that we put in that is called type range, and that creates that sliding effect, or that slider that goes across. We have a value of 1, maximum of 100, so minimum 100. The starting value is 100. That can actually be, the starting value can be 0 because it's starting off on the far left-hand side rather than 100, so I will change that. It is an RI activity slider number 1. So I've used RI for Ricochae for my business activity slider. So this is just an ID that goes with each one of the sliders so we can reference them in our JavaScript. Then down here we have our 4 images, and those images are Season 1 PNG, Season 2, remove that, Season 3, Season 4. So there's our images. Then all we've done is use CSS inline to sit them on top of each other. So left 0, top 0, index 4, meaning that this one here is going to sit above each one, so each one will sit on top. And the position is absolute, so they all sit back in one spot on top of each other. Then our JavaScript that we're going to show you in just a second is what then goes down to adjust the transparency of each of these. So let's go and have a look at our JavaScript. Okay, in our JavaScript, it's very short and very simple. We have a function that loads when the page is loaded. It calls fn reset, and function reset, basically all that does is changes the sliders. So slider 1, 2, and 3, there's our 3 sliders. Get element by ID finds the slider with the ID of our activity slider 1, our activity slider 1, sets the value to 1. Now, because at the same time as doing that, we have also added here an event listener to each of the sliders, meaning that when the slider is moved, so when the input changes for RI activity slider 1, so that's input it's listening to. When it changes, we then tell the image number 1 to change its opacity to a value between 0 and 1 divided by the value of the slider. So the slider is 0 to 100, so we're doing 1 minus this value divided by 100, so it makes it a fraction of 1. And the further to the right, the more transparent it is, and it just keeps changing it. So as we move those sliders across, notice that one doesn't do anything because the front one, or the top one, hasn't been lowered first. Now that it is, you can start to see the change in the bottom one. That's all there is to it. So it's just very simply one function, which is called the reset function, to set it back to 0. And that just happens when the page loads. We could put a new button in there that is a reset button as well, which would be quite simple. We just put a new button in there add an event listener to it, and it will add it. But how do we add this to our education content? We go to embed, we turn off JavaScript, HTML, CSS, go to iframe because we'll use the iframe one, copy that code, go into our education platform of choice. In this case, it's Moodle, it could be anything. And we're going to go into our code and replace the iframe there from our previous activity to this one. There it is. And you can see now that it's appeared in there, but notice that we're losing a lot of the image. That's just because of our height. Now we've got a height of 300. To make this fit more successfully, we can change that to say 600 and switch that back, and now you can see more of that image. And if I cut that back to down here and save and display, you'll see that we get most of that image is available inside the content now, and if we scale it down, it does actually scale down as well, which is really nice. So it scales down to fit, and we can then use our transparency and drag those across, and they work absolutely beautifully. And that's how we add that interactive type content to our pages. Remember, there's more of these as well that I've got to show you, so stick around for the next few videos. Make sure you subscribe, that way you will definitely keep in touch with when the next video comes out on how to create another one of these interactive JavaScript HTML, and also check out the courses that I have on the Moodle LMS and also on using JavaScript CSS in the context of your online education. I'm Chris Richter. I'll see you soon.